Now, of course, with electric vehicles and being in these types of snowy, wintry conditions, not to mention cold, a lot of you are probably asking the million-dollar question, how is the range affected? Well, I charged this vehicle up fully last night, and it was at, or right now it's at 100%. When I first got into the car, it showed 222 miles. The temperature outside is 27 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, I've defrosted the car a little bit, left it running. I have the heated seats on, the heated steering wheel on, I have the actual heater and defrost on, and now the range has dropped to 208. So a pretty significant chunk of range was lost, which doesn't surprise me. The Mach-e does not have a heat pump, but at least Ford sent me the dual motor version. So we're gonna take it out on the road and we're gonna see what this thing is like. I also have the factory all-season tires on this car. They're a Michelin all-season tire, but because the Mach-e has two independent motors, one at the front, one at the rear, it favors rear drive dynamics. I figured let's take it out and let's see how this vehicle handles. Now, in terms of ground clearance, this car only has like 5.8 inches, which is literally only maybe a half an inch more than a sedan. So I wouldn't feel comfortable taking this vehicle out into really, really heavy, deep snow. It just wouldn't do well in those types of situations because it doesn't have much ground clearance. But with a set of snow tires, I think this would do really well. Actually, that's the Regen braking that's doing that. The analog brake is kicking in because of the snow. But remember, you have very strong Regen braking in an EV, which is going to help, of course, with, you know, these icy roads that we're dealing on. I live actually on the top of a hill. You can hear the Regen braking is kicking in to try to slow the vehicle down, which is nice because I don't even have to hit the brakes in this thing, which really makes the car feel a lot more sure-footed in these types of conditions. You can feel it sliding a little bit there. There's the back end kicking out a tad. The stability control in this car is fairly aggressive, so it's going to try its best to rein everything. I'm going to put the drive mode actually into engage, which is the normal mode. I had it in unbridled. It actually remembers the last driving mode I was in, which I wasn't expecting it to do. The rain sensing wipers aren't very good as well, at least in this type of condition. They're not actually wiping when I need it to. Okay. There's a lot of like puttering around or shuddering around as I put my foot down a little bit. I'm not sure if it's the traction control cutting everything or if it's the motors trying to figure out which axle to send more power to, but I'm definitely noticing that. But the car feels very secure. I imagine Mach-e owners are going to love these type of conditions, kind of similar to when, you know, it snowed and I had my Tesla. It was always just a lot of fun to drive in the snow. And again, I put my foot down a tad there because I wanted to see how the traction control reacts, and it definitely hauls everything down. You can see the roads have roughly, I want to say 2 to 3 inches of snow on them. This is a very, very cold wet snow. So it is accumulating pretty well. And they're trying to keep up with plowing it, but it's coming down at like an inch and a half an hour at times. So we're expecting 6 to 9 inches today, but yeah, this thing just kind of trucks along. I will say the heated seat gets very hot, so let me turn that down. The heated steering wheel also feels nice. There's the back end. It stepped out a little bit as I turned there and I put my foot down just a tad more, but very cool, very impressive. Regen braking slowing me down here. Now I'm gonna try it from just a dead stop here and see how it accelerates. Cutting all the power right there. The back end's actually stepping out a tad, let off the throttle and it kind of corrects itself. But that is pretty impressive with the factory Michelin tires on it too. But as you can see, it is a winter wonderland out here, which, you know, I usually love snowy conditions, at least I did when I was a kid. I like driving in the snow, but it's never any fun to actually clean up the snow. But this is pretty much an ideal condition for when you guys are testing out your all-wheel drive electric SUV with twin independent motors. This thing just kind of trucks along like there's no snow at all on the ground. And even like the Regen braking right here, it comes to a complete stop for me. This is not me hitting the brakes, guys. This is actually just the Regen brakes. Didn't touch the friction brake at all, and it comes to a complete stop here, and that's pretty cool. It's cutting in the power, but we're getting away. I have it down like half throttle right now. The car got a little bit sideways there, but again, with an EV, just let your foot off the accelerator and the Regen braking takes control, and then the stability control clamps everything down, but it did get a little bit sideways there. I was surprised that it actually allowed it to do that. But man, this car could just be way more efficient if it had a heat pump. So I'm surprised that Ford doesn't put a heat pump on this car. I'm imagining they'll probably do that in the next couple model years or so. It would just really improve the efficiency, because I've already gone down in range from 208 when I left my house, which was probably a mile away, and it's gone down to 203. So it's using a lot of power, of course, to drive in these cold conditions. I'm assuming the Model Y would be a little bit more efficient in that regard, because it's not having to create energy or create heat from the battery like this car would. But yeah, I wouldn't want to be stuck out here in something that's front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive without the proper snow tires on it. With all-season tires, an all-wheel drive car does pretty well, but you still have to take into account stopping distances are going to be longer. The car will slide around a little bit more without the all-weather traction that you would get from snow tires. But the cool thing about an EV is it's so quiet in here. Ford has done a really good job with the sound deadening, and you know, I really enjoy this car. My particular, you know, tester is an early build, and the infotainment system here has been an absolute nightmare. So the CarPlay hasn't been working the entire time I've had the vehicle, the wireless CarPlay, and the trip computer and the radio also quit working in this vehicle later on in my, you know, my testing with it, because it just refuses to give back the actual option where I can select it on the screen, and when I try to select it, it won't bring it back up. It just is completely refusing to bring that up. So Ford says that they're looking into that. There are, of course, software updates they can send over to fix this, and it probably needs one. That's probably why it's really, really not responding. But the Regen braking, again, really nice to have as I turn here and as I let off the throttle. Very cool car in the snow. Electric cars in general, you got all the weight of the batteries kind of pushing the tires down, the twin independent electric motors that can deliver instantaneous torque and torque vectoring, true torque vectoring, which is cool. But yeah, driving a Mustang in the snow, never thought I'd see the day, even though a lot of people argue this is no Mustang. It is a pretty cool car, and it's an electric SUV that Ford should really be proud of. It constantly wants to send more power to the rear. That is hilarious, although a little scary in these conditions when the back end will step out. Let's see here, have the traction control off. This thing literally will drift all day long. It really does favor rear drive dynamics, which is super cool. I wish these auto wipers would work better. Oh my goodness, that is hilarious. Not great turning radius on this car, which is kind of the same thing with Teslas. The cool thing about this is you can do it stealth. There's no noise. Oh my god, this is hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Now it's funny because the battery is still showing 100% charge right now, but now the range has dropped to 195 miles. I'll turn the traction control back on, but wow. So the Mach-e is a pretty cool snow weapon. Put some good tires on it, it'd be awesome. The battery, you know, the range keeps dropping because it doesn't have a heat pump. That's something Ford could address. But the chassis stays really balanced. The low center of gravity means it doesn't feel tippy in these kind of situations. And really, it is a really fun car. So Mach-e, definitely a fun electric SUV. Not sure if it's worthy of the Mustang badge still. It is definitely reminding me of a Mustang, just in the rear drive dynamics that it gives you, but really cool. So if you guys live in the snowbelt states, just be sure that you're okay with the fact that your range is going to drop in these kind of conditions, but this car can certainly handle the snow, especially if you put a good set of some winter tires on this thing. So clearly I'm having way too much fun with the Mach-e out in the snow. It's a really awesome electric SUV out in these conditions. It's probably a good set of winter tires away from being even better. And Ford should seriously consider adding a heat pump to this vehicle because it really would improve the range. It would probably improve the range by up to 20%, which is why the Model Y is a little bit more efficient than this vehicle, because it has a heat pump. As you guys saw, the range just continuously dropped out in these conditions. But out in these conditions, in this white exterior color, it seriously was a joy to drive this car. I'm actually really surprised at how much I like this vehicle in general. The infotainment system still is a little bit buggy and laggy for me, so hopefully Ford will fix that before this vehicle actually gets into owner's hands. But really, if you're in the market for one of these vehicles and you live in these conditions, I can proudly say you're gonna enjoy driving this car. Just be sure you're okay with the fact that the range is gonna drop significantly when you are constantly living in sub 30-degree weather. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed this snowy drive, of course, in the cold conditions here in Pennsylvania with the 2021 Ford Mustang Mach-e. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook. And as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.